Buy-to-let property investing used to deliver the double whammy, capital appreciation and cash flow. But I've just analysed what a £1 million buy-to-let portfolio actually generates. And the answer, £1,950 a month after all costs and tax. That's a 6.7 return, which is barely better than a savings account. If you're a serious investor watching amateur landlords exit the market and wondering where professional capital should deploy in UK property right now, this is what you need to understand. The buy-to-let model has fundamentally changed. There are 4 structural factors which have destroyed cash flow, and none of them are reversing. So let me show you the exact numbers and what professional operators are doing instead. But before I do that, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jim Holland from Dan and Jim Property, which I run with my brother in the northwest of England. We buy houses and rent them out, either as whole properties or by the room. And I've recently just completed my first HMO conversion, transforming a 3-bedroom house into a 6-bedroom property. And I raised £160,000 in private investor funds to make it happen. Right now, I'm focused on filling my pipeline with 3 to 5 projects over the next 12 months. My bigger vision is to create freedom for myself and others through property, whilst providing high quality housing that people are actually proud to call their home. Our partnership model is designed for investors deploying $500,000 to $5 million across multiple conversions. You provide capital and we handle everything operationally, and then we split the profits 50-50. So if you're evaluating where serious capital should be deployed in UK property, there's a link in the description to our investor waitlist. But first, let me show you why vanilla buy-to-let doesn't really work anymore. So let's talk about what £350,000 actually buys you in the buy-to-let market today. Now, most investors think about portfolios when it comes to scale, i.e. how many properties can they actually acquire. Now, using 350 as deposits at 25% loan to value, it would get you 14 properties valued at £100,000 each, which is a total portfolio value of 1.4 million, and you'd have 1.05 million of mortgage debt at around about 5.5% interest. Now, all these properties will be held in a limited company to avoid Section 24 tax issues. So £350,000 in deposits controls 1.5 million in assets. Sounds impressive, but here's what everyone gets wrong. Portfolio size doesn't really matter. Cash flow is what matters. So let me show you what that 1.4 million actually generates you every single month. Because most amateur landlords just stop at rental income. £700 per property, 14 properties, that's £9,800 a month. And that sounds and looks great on a spreadsheet. But professional operators know the income number is meaningless without a proper cost structure. So let's run through that. So your mortgage costs across the portfolio at 5.5% interest rate would be £4,812 per month. A letting agent at 12% would be £1,176 per month. Voids and maintenance at 10% would be £980. And insurance will be £420 per month, which gives you a total of £7,388 in costs. So it gives you a net profit before tax of £2,411 per month. Now, after corporation tax at 19%, you're taking home £1,953 per month, or £23,445 annually, which is based on £350,000 invested. That's a 6.7% cash on cash return, and per property you're making £139.50. Now, you could get 5% in a risk-free savings account with zero landlord hassle and zero compliance burden, and you'd have complete liquidity over your money. So here's the question serious capital should ask. If I'm only getting 6.7%, barely above the savings rate, why would I accept tenant management, repair calls, compliance requirements, and an illiquid asset? Now, based on that, you might be sat there thinking,
Jim, what about the capital appreciation? Properties go up in value. That's the real return.
And you'd be absolutely spot on. Property does appreciate, but that creates a different problem. If your strategy is capital appreciation focused, you're getting passive growth with active landlord burden. You're doing tenant management, handling repairs, and staying compliant with regulation, and dealing with tenant problems, all for like 140 quid per month per property. The cash flow used to justify being a landlord. It justified the tenants, the repairs, and the compliance, and the time you actually have to invest into it. Without the cash flow, you're getting the worst of both worlds, really. Buy-to-lets used to offer this double whammy, capital appreciation and cash flow. But now it feels like you only get the appreciation with all the landlord hassle. The double whammy has actually become a single whammy. And that's why 100,000 landlords are exiting the market. They've done the exact same math. So the big question is, what changed and why did the cash flow die? Well, there's 4 structural changes which destroyed buy-to-let economics. And unfortunately, none of them are reversing. And professional operators understand this. And amateur landlords are still working this out. So let me walk you through through the 4 changes. Structural change number 1 specifically destroyed landlords holding properties in personal names. It's called Section 24, and most amateur landlords still don't fully understand its impact. Before Section 24, you could offset mortgage interest against rental income for tax purposes. After Section 24, that disappeared. You now pay tax on gross rent, not profit. And here's what that actually means. If you've got £10,000 in annual rent and 4% mortgage interest, the old system you were taxed on the £6,000 profit. In the new system, you're taxed on the £10,000 gross rent. So for higher rate taxpayers of 40%, this was catastrophic. Now, most people move properties into limited companies because 19% corporation tax instead of 40% income tax is a lot lower. But limited companies bring accountancy fees, self-assessment costs, and administrative overhead. But here's the real damage. Old school landlords who'd built 10, 20, 30 property portfolios in their personal names, for them, profitability died overnight. And moving everything into a limited company meant tens of £1,000s in stamp duty and legal fees. And just when you think things couldn't get any worse for personal name landlords, the most recent budget added 2% tax increase specifically on property income held in personal names. So if you're still holding properties personally, you're now facing Section 24 restrictions plus an additional 2% tax hit on your rental income. That's one major reason 94,000 landlords exited the market recently, and there's going to be more coming. Structural change number 2 destroyed the fundamental math everyone was modeling on, and this is interest rates. For years, interest rates were essentially zero. Buy-to-let mortgages at 2 to 3%. Then COVID hit, and government started printing money and inflation spikes. Therefore, rates responded. The Bank of England took rates from 0.25% to 5.25%. For a £100,000 mortgage at 2.5%, you pay £208 per property. At 5.5, you pay £458. That's a £250 per month property increase. On a 10 property portfolio, that's £30,000 additional annual costs. Most buy-to-let investors model returns on 2 to 3% mortgages, and those returns evaporated. And this isn't temporary. Even when rates go down, we're still not going to return to the ultra low rate era. That was pretty abnormal. The new rates are probably going to be between 3 to 4% base rate, meaning 4.5 to 5.5 buy-to-let mortgages. Now, buy-to-let cash flow doesn't really work at these rates, and professional operators know this. That's why they're not deploying capital into vanilla buy-to-lets. Structural change number 3 is the silent killer. Most landlords don't factor this in until it's too late. This is compliance costs. Every year, government adds another compliance layer. The major one, EPC regulations, energy performance certificates. Soon, all rented properties must achieve an EPC rating of C or above. Most older buy-to-let properties are rated D or below. You must upgrade these properties or you legally can't rent them out. These costs can be anywhere from 5 to 15 grand. On a 10-bed property portfolio, that's 50 to 150 grand just to stand still. Most amateur landlords just don't have that capital available. So they're selling. 94,000 exits recently, and there's more coming. This is what BlackRock understands that most amateur landlords don't. You need scale and professional operations to handle compliance systematically. That's the 10 to 50 property sweet spot we're targeting. Too small for government pressure and too professional for legislation to massively hurt us. Structural change number 4 is the one that makes most amateur landlords ask the question, why am I even doing this? And it's the removal of Section 21 evictions. Section 21 was the landlord safety net, reclaiming your property within 2 months' notice. No reason needed. In a couple of months' time, that's going to be gone. You'll only evict for specific reason: rent arrears, property damage, or antisocial behaviour. And it's a harder process and it's going to take longer, which ultimately is more risk and less control. Extended eviction procedures. Amateur landlords look at this and think, why am I even doing this? Whereas professional operators look at this and think, this pushes the amateurs out and creates opportunity for us. And really, that's the difference. When regulation increases, amateurs exit and professionals scale. Because we have systems, processes, professional letting agents and tenant screening, as well as operational infrastructure that makes us anti-fragile to some of these changes. So those are the 4 structural changes. Section 24 killed personal name portfolios. Interest rates destroyed cash flow maths. Compliance costs requires capital most landlords don't have. And Section 21 removal makes tenant management riskier. And every single one of these pushes out amateur landlords. And everyone creates opportunity for professional operators who can handle complexity at scale. And that brings us to the question, if buy-to-let doesn't work, what does? So here's what serious capital should understand about what's happening in the UK property industry right now. 100,000 amateur landlords have exited, and BlackRock are deploying $1 billion into UK residential property. Private equity is moving in. The market isn't dying, it's just professionalizing. and there's a massive structural supply-demand imbalance. The UK population grew by 1 million people last year, and the government housing target is 300,000 new homes annually. And we're not hitting that target, not even close. So more people, fewer properties, rents are going to rise, values are going to rise, and the demand is there. But amateur landlords can't operate profitably at 6.7% returns with high complexity. Professional operators in the 10 to 50 property range are too small for government pressure and too professional to let legislation really hurt them. And they can still both deliver appreciation and cash flow. But it's not through buy-to-let. It's through professional HMO operations. That's what I think the window is, and that's where we're positioned to capture. Vanilla buy-to-lets as a wealth building strategy have been structurally weakened. So what works now? Professional HMO operations. Let me show you the actual numbers. Our completed HMO generates £1,200 per month profit. To generate the same £1,200 profit from buy-to-lets and the numbers we ran at the start of this video, we'd need around 7 properties. Just think about that operationally, managing 7 different properties, 7 different tenants, 7 sets of potential repair issues, 7 compliance obligations, versus managing 1 HMO with 6 professional tenants all in one location, with systemized compliance and a professional letting agent oversight. So HMOs can still deliver the double whammy. Capital appreciation because you can force up value through the conversion, and cash flow significantly higher than buy-to-lets. And that's why professional operators are moving capital here. Now, the challenge most investors face isn't understanding that HMOs work. It's finding professional operators who can actually execute at the scale without requiring hands-on involvement. That's the operational expertise barrier. That's exactly what our partnership model addresses. If you have 500,000 to 5 million to deploy across multiple HMO conversions and you want a completely hands-off structure where professional operators handle everything, then there's a link in the description to our investor waitlist. You provide the capital and we can handle everything else. Sourcing the property in Article 4 free zones, managing the conversion and the compliance aspects, and professional letting agent relationships, along with ongoing management and tenant oversight. And we split everything 50-50, with a typical deployment being 500,000 to 5 million across 15 to 20 conversions. Now, we ask specific questions about capital available and investment timelines on the waitlist. I will be honest, this isn't for everyone. We're specifically looking for sophisticated investors who understand risk-reward dynamics and appreciate professional operation and execute decisions quickly once convinced. If that's you, there's a link in the description. If not, let me finish by showing you why this matters for the wider market. Here's why professional operation matters more than people realize. With our first conversion, we faced challenges, but we delivered the returns anyway. Planning delays, contractor issues, and cost overruns. All things that make amateur operators quit. But we kept our investors updated throughout. We systematically navigated the problems and we delivered the promised returns. That's what separates professional operators from amateurs trying to scale. Most operators hide problems or quit when things get difficult. We handle them as part of the business, and sophisticated investors understand that's what they're actually investing in. Not just property, but operational competence. So that's the £1 million buy-to-let portfolio problem, and what professional operators are doing instead. A quick recap. £1 million in a buy-to-let portfolio generates £1,950 a month, a 6.7 return. 4 structural changes kill the cash flow. Section 24, interest rates, compliance, and Section 21 removal. You get appreciation but minimal cash flow. The double whammy becomes a single whammy. Amateur landlords are exiting. Private equity is entering. Professional operators in the sweet spot are scaling massively. So if you're already in buy-to-let and they work for you, keep hold of them. But if you're evaluating where serious capital should be deployed in UK property today, understanding the model has changed fundamentally is key. And professional HMO operation still delivers appreciation and cash flow. And that's the strategy we're executing on. Now, we talked about how professional operators can still deliver both capital appreciation and cash flow through HMOs. So if you want to understand how to work out profits on a HMO deal, please check out the video on your screen now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.